The Israeli army says it's now simultaneously striking targets in both Lebanon and Iran. That comes after the Iranian capital of Tehran was pounded overnight by U.S. and Israeli forces and is undergoing strikes at the moment. For the very latest now from there, let's bring in our correspondent, Reza Sayah, who joins me live from Tehran. Reza, large explosions already seen over Tehran just within the past hour. Where are you today, and what's the situation like there now?
Yeah, we're in the heart of the city. It's just after 3:30 p.m. local time on this Monday. It had been a very quiet and peaceful morning, and through noon there was seemingly a lull, and that quiet and that peace was shattered just a little over an hour ago, starting at about 2:25 p.m. Local time. Once again, we saw huge explosions, huge booms, followed by plumes of smoke going up in the air. And based on our observation over the past couple of days, whenever we've seen these air raids, they seem to come in spurts that last about 60 minutes, 90 minutes. And that's what we saw once again today. And what's remarkable is whenever these air raids happen, the explosions happen all across the city. There was explosions to my left, that's the east of the city, to my right, where I still see large black plumes of smoke rising into the air. And behind me is northern Tehran, where I see a white plume of smoke. What was targeted during these air raids, it's not clear. But if the past 24, 48 hours is any indication, these airstrikes, presumably by Israeli jet fighters, are targeting military installations, building facilities linked to the Revolutionary Guard, the Basij, even police headquarters. One was targeted yesterday. But without question, when they're hitting these buildings, what are being hit are also civilian areas, residential buildings. We had a hospital hit yesterday. One of the most gut-wrenching scenes yesterday, shown on state media, were hospital workers at nearby Gandhi Hospital frantically taking what looked like a baby in an incubator to safety. Iranian officials have updated the death toll. According to them, 555 people have been killed during these 3 days. It's not clear how many of them were civilians. Among those 555, more than 150, of course, who were killed during that first day, school children and teachers in that airstrike in Ninab in southern Iran. In the meantime, Iran doing its best to aggressively retaliate, targeting U.S. bases, U.S. assets, and U.S. allies in Gulf countries across the region. Oil facilities in Saudi Arabia hit, air bases in Bahrain were hit, in Cyprus, of course, cities in Israel. And interestingly, the Kuwaiti defense minister today releasing a statement saying that 3 U.S. F-15 fighter jets had crashed. Iranian officials claiming they were shot down over Iranian airspace and they fell and crashed in Kuwaiti airspace. We saw video online. Apparently, the pilots safely ejected themselves. But again, according to the Kuwaiti defense minister, several U.S. F-15 fighter jets crash landing in Kuwait today.
Reza, as you mentioned there just a moment ago, some 550 people have reportedly been killed in Iran since Saturday. How are people there dealing with all of this violence, all of these attacks within the past 3 days? What's the situation like for them?
I think they're dealing with it with uncertainty, resilience, and a sense of helplessness. There's very little people. There's little that people can do other than just wait and see what's happening. I think a lot of people, if they've had the opportunity, if they've had places out of town, they've left Tehran. Tehran is very quiet. This is usually a work day. The streets are bustling with activity. Not the case. The government has closed down businesses. Schools are closed down. A lot of private businesses, because of this war, have closed down. And they're just waiting to see when the cycle of violence is going to end. For their part, Iranian officials are clearly making an effort to project strength and resilience. The secretary of Iran's National Security Council, Ali Larijani, saying in a statement that Tehran is not going to negotiate with terrorists, an obvious reference to U.S. President Donald Trump's claim that Tehran had reached out for talks. Larijani rejecting that claim, an indication that the cycle of violence may continue indefinitely.
And what about within the regime itself, Reza? Has there been any word on when a new supreme leader, might be appointed to replace Khamenei?
Well, that's the job of the Assembly of Experts. Presumably, they're at work. An interim leadership council has been activated, and I think a lot of analysts are saying that perhaps the Iranian leadership is waiting cautiously to appoint the next supreme leader, because there is this concern that if they appoint the next supreme leader, he may be targeted. But I think what's key from Tehran's perspective is that for the first 3 days, they have survived. The power structure, despite taking heavy casualties, it has survived. It has kept going. And I think if that continues, the criticism of this attack led by U.S. and Israeli forces is going to grow. And I think that's something the Iranian leadership is looking for in shifting the momentum to their side.